Pain is no cupcake. Come here, cupcake!
Hello everybody, this is Ninja005 here, and I'm giving you a quick guide of how to play Soldier in 2 Cities MvM. Now the reason I'm doing 2 Cities is because it's the most popular, and of course you get the most rewards out of 2 Cities. And so you don't get yelled at by these high tour guys that like to yell at people that don't know what they're doing, or just leave the match because they're assholes. So with that being said, and I believe he's one of the most flexible classes and fun to play in MvM, and this is no exception as well for classic game modes. And with that being said, let's hop into the video. First we'll start off with Empire, which you start off with 900. I recommend always getting Reload first. Reload is one of the most important, and it should be the first thing you upgrade first. You can go full Reload, but it's not really recommended. You could put one in Damage or Rocket Specialist. Of course, your scout should be handling the giant scouts and with slowing them down with the Mad Milk, but if you really need to, you can always put it on Rocket Specialist to stun and slow down the giant scouts, and help out your team that way. And it also gives you damage bonus on direct hit, so it's sort of nice to have either one. Either way, you're going to be dealing more damage, but of course, one deals more damage for your area, splash, and in general, and one just deals more damage when you hit directly. Now let's get into Metro, which you start off with 800 credits. Of course, always start off with Reload. Now, I recommend either having full Reload, or 2 Reload, and 1 on Rocket Specialist. This is, of course, gives you a damage boost when you hit directly, but I like to have full Reload because it also allows you to shoot faster. Now, you could do 1 reload and 1 damage, but that's going to put you at a disadvantage in my opinion, so I don't really recommend that. I really recommend for the best results, probably 1 Rocket Specialist and 2 reload. Of course, I do full reload, so I've never tried it that way, but that'd definitely be my recommendation for journalists beginning upgrades. Now, let's get into Hamlet, which you start off with 700. Always put it into reload first, in my opinion. If you don't want to put full reload, you could put 1 into damage, which could be helpful, but in my opinion, you're at a bigger disadvantage because you're left with 200 when you put 2 reload. You can then put the other 200 in health on kill or firing speed, but make sure to refund it after the wave because both of them are not too useful pretty much after the first wave, and firing speed is supposed to be later on, but will help you in the beginning. Now let's get into Bot Bash, which you start off with 1200. Always go into Reload first. If you do max Reload, you'll have 450 left for 1 damage or 1 Rocket Specialist. But for the best results, I recommend 1 in damage, 1 in Rocket Specialist, and 2 in Reload. Don't get me wrong, Rocket Specialist is a very important upgrade, but if you don't have the reload speed, I don't find it to be very useful, so make sure to put it into Reload first before you go into Rocket Specialist, in my opinion, because that will help out your team when you're dealing more damage. Now, these are only your beginning upgrades. For later upgrades are going to be a little different. I believe that Reload should be one of your first upgrades, and it just helps you out a lot, especially since you only have 4 rockets, and you're not going to be putting anything clip size in the beginning, because that's not going to be very helpful at all. But, don't get me wrong, Rocket Specialist is the best upgrade for the Soldier. It allows you to deal more damage on direct hit, it allows you to stun anything on a direct hit, and it also increases your blast radius by 15%. And then you only need 1 clip in it, which makes it the best upgrade, but I don't think it's the most important. Most important, I believe, would be Reload, being that it allows you to get the rockets back in faster since you only start with 4 rockets. Now let's talk about later upgrades. Later upgrades should be, of course, if you haven't already, putting 1 in Rocket Specialist or max Reload. You only need 1 in Rocket Specialist, being that you're only getting it for the stun and the little damage boost on direct hit. The blast radius is nice, but you don't need it for the battle unless you have every other upgrade. The next upgrade you should be focusing is damage, and then after that you should be getting firing speed, clip size, and ammo capacity. Of course, if you have a good engineer, dispenser should always be nearby and never breaking, so you don't have to worry too much about ammo capacity, but when you're trending away, it's nice to have it. So I recommend evenly distributing between clip size, ammo capacity, and firing speed after getting full damage. Now let's talk resistances. In my opinion, resistances aren't too important for Soldier. Most of the time, you're going to be standing near the engineer, where he doesn't really take much damage either, or you're going to be near a dispenser, or a medic's going to be helping healing you. It really depends on the case, but most of the time, you shouldn't be up close. That's usually the scout. If you have a pyro, or a heavy, they're going to be up front, so they're going to be taking most of the brute force from any waves coming. So you should be set. Of course, if you're having troubles dying, make sure to not go fully into damage and start putting resistances instead of going full damage. Now let's talk about upgrades to avoid. Anything with your melee weapon, avoid. The banner is an okay upgrade, but it shouldn't be any of your primary concerns. For canteens, I've never really gone into upgrading canteens, except on last wave where I get crit canteens for the soldier just to have a little bit more damage that wave. So really avoid those. Fire resistance is never important. For old classes, you really shouldn't be focusing anything on fire resistance. As I said, you should have a medic or a dispenser where you can go heal yourself from fire damage. Jump height and movement speed is not very important for Soldier at all. That should only be upgrades for Scout, unless, of course, you're maxed out. And that should pretty much cover everything. Oh, and health recovery. That's not very important either. It's more one of those more fun upgrades. So really just stay away from those upgrades and focus more on the primary weapon, which should be your first concern, and resistances if you're having trouble staying alive. Now let's talk about soldier loadouts. So there should be only two primary weapons you should be using. That should be either stock or the beggar's bazooka. Stock has no disadvantages or up advantages, so it really is one of the best for MvM. Now the beggar's bazooka allows you to fire a lot faster, and you can definitely get a big higher damage output with it, but the only disadvantage is the little bit of aiming desperation you'll have and the less blast radius, but you'll get that back from the rocket specialist, so there really isn't too much of a loss from the beggar's bazooka other than the little less aim you'll have. For secondaries, you should be using one of the three banners. Of course, buff is the most important, being that it gives your whole entire team mini crits, which will allow you to deal a lot more damage as a team. The second best, of course, the conch, being that it allows you to heal on hit and also gives you some self-heal yourself, or 4 heal for a second. Of course, you should have a medic or a scout that's mad milking, so there really shouldn't be too much of a need for the conch unless you are lacking either one of those. And the battalions really isn't too useful unless you have other soldiers using the buff banner coming out, but most of the time you'll have a medic blocking the rockets, so there isn't too much of a need to have the battalion around, except on Bot Bash, because the meta is like 4 soldiers, 1 scout and an engineer. But really it doesn't matter. So the loadout you should be using is either the conch or the buff banner. For melee weapon, it doesn't really matter. You could use a disciplinary action. It's great for a speed boost to get back to the front lines quickly if the NG's teleporter's down. You could use escape plan, which will of course give you a self speed boost but mark you for death. But other than that, there really isn't too much necessary for melee or soldier. Now let's talk about strategies for playing as soldier. So, you gotta keep in mind, these are NPC bots. They're pretty much the NPC version of a human hacker. So, you're gonna be dealing with pretty much aimbot snipers and air blast hacking pyros. These are gonna be probably your two worst enemies. So, of course, dealing with snipers, they cannot headshot you when you're moving. I mean, they have a chance, but most of the time it just becomes a body shot when you continuously move. So continuous moving and try to take out the snipers before they can hit you. For pyros are literally your worst enemy here, and going to be your worst counter. For dealing with pyros, you can try shooting at their feet, but as I said before, they're like a human vert hacker, so they're pretty much going to air blast any rocket. So the best way to deal with pyros is by shooting 2 rockets at a time. They will air blast the first one, so just be moving, and the second one they'll end up eating. So you should be fine with doing that. For giant pyros, they don't air blast, so you'll be fine hitting them straight on. Now let's talk about banner usage. For banners, if you notice that there's a big wave coming out or a big huge guy coming out of that gate, and you have a buff banner or any type of banner ready, make sure to blow it and hold down the left click. So when you use it, you have to use left click. Just hold down left click. And when they drop out of the gate, release it. This will actually hold you from using your buff banner or the banner of your choice from being used. Until you release the left click, it won't actually be used. So it's a great strategy to use when you're fighting huge waves or really big giants. So you can actually be really efficient with your banner. And let alone, you won't be wasting time with your banner by trying to guess how much time it takes for it to land. Now let's talk about your specific jobs as soldier in 2 cities. So, of course, the main job is always dealing as much damage as you can to the small units in mass waves or just the small units in general. That's such as scouts, heavies, demomen, and soldiers. As for giant waves, it's your job to deal damage to them and stun them and sort of just slag them from getting further. It's also really good to help the engineer if he needs any help with spy checking, if you don't have a pyro that is spy checking, and also taking out engineers that might come along that the engineer can't take out on Manhattan. On Manhattan, they don't spawn teleporters because they have 3 gates a cap, but they do build level 3 sentries, and this is the same for Rottenburg as well. They both spawn sentries at level 3. As for on Rottenburg, they also build teleporters, being that there's only 1 gate they come out of, so it is really crucial to be looking out for engineers on that, and your team will be relying on you to do so. So please take this warning with a lot of concern, because you could get yelled at for not doing your job as soldier. And trust me, I have forgotten about this quite a few times, and yes, you do get yelled at for it. So just keep in mind that it is important to watch out for engineers on Rottenburg. So that should be it for this little soldier guide on how to play in MvM 2 cities. Of course, this won't make you a god playing in MvM when you first start. The only way to really get better at this is by hopping in and playing yourself. This is just to give you a basic understanding of how to play soldier in MvM 2 cities and what to expect when playing the class. He's a really fun class, and keep in mind that your upgrades should be able to help out the team. Don't be selfish or stupid with them, because you can be kicked, because there are options like that. Keep that in mind. And this is a team game, so be a team player. It's really good to have buff banners instead of having something selfish like the base jumper and the air strike, which can be a good weapon, but again, it's a team game, so mini crits to everyone is a lot better, or having everyone heal is a lot better, or just giving them resistance is way more better than having to jump in the air and dealing a lot more damage yourself when your whole team can deal a lot more damage together. So that's going to be pretty much that. Make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe if you haven't already, and be ready to watch for more tutorials. Demo Man and Sniper probably won't be coming out too soon, being that I feel like I need more practice with them. But for the other classes, I feel pretty comfortable playing as, and I should have more guides out for them here soon. So, thank you for watching, and hope to see you guys in the next video. And until next time, stay awesome, and get that cash.